this is the cultural West. This is the one, going back to Greco-Roman, Babylonian culture. This is the one, Judeo-Christian. It's at the core of it. And in this cultural West, Russia, for example, is a founder member, is an intrinsic part of it. It's also this cultural West was always open. I mentioned Babylonia and Persia, or and Indus and the Sinaic civilizations. So there's a whole slew of books published in the English language recently about the West. And that's interesting because this is precisely, they're saying, well, what is this beast, this West, which we're talking about, and clearly the slew of books now are an attempt to come to terms with this, well, 2,500 year, 3,000 year history. When I mentioned this, they're Chinese. Oh, they say it's still relatively new then, because they have a 5,000 year history of cultural, some sort of formation. But yes, so again, so there's lots of things coming together at this moment, which makes it, very exciting intellectually. If only we can get a conceptual grasp of these multiple layers and multiple, it's easy to use the word crisis, but certainly, the Greek word crisis means a moment of reflection in the life of the community, and that's what we're doing, is reflecting, and it's fascinating to do so, though with those huge dangers which we've identified.
I like, yeah, that's a nicer way of looking at crisis, a more helpful one as well. I want to, address this, pivot to the east, which you mentioned. Obviously, the meeting in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization became a good indication of this, but a lot of the reasoning behind this, the Russian abandonment of Greater Europe, it became, to a large extent, the consequence of the coup in 2014 in Ukraine, because for the Russians, they had more or less preserved Gorbachev's idea of a common European home in different formats. But even Putin wanted what is often referred to as a Greater Europe. But the problem always with NATO expansion, also recognized in the 1990s, was there would be no logical stop for it. Where would it stop before reaching Ukraine? And more or less, it seemed a lot, or if not most people, recognized that this would be deeply problematic. And that became the very important year of 2014, when the government in Ukraine was toppled with the support of the West, because the Russians seemed to think that this was, it became evidence that there would be no gradual integration of Russia. Instead, Ukraine would be